welcome back to another episode of the Double or Nothing podcast. I am your host, John, and along with my co-host, Dylan here, we got another episode for you. Today is Monday, August 26th, 2024. Just want a quick shout out to everyone. Thank you for likes, subscribes, and comments, everything across all our social media platforms. Just so you know, you can tune into us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Twitter, all that good stuff, Facebook. Just want to get into the couple talking points of what we're going to be going over today is a lot of preseason thoughts, what we're doing, what we're ending with before the season starts next week. We're going to talk about the Dotson trade. We're going to talk big Ceedee Lamb signing today that just happened. Aaron Judge still going on a tear. What the hell Jamar Chase and Brandon Aiyuk are going to do. We're going to get into a little would you rathers later on edition of running backs, quarterbacks, wide receiver. Maybe talk a little golf at the end of the podcast. And then we're going to get into a little gambling later on towards the end about what we're going to explain some of the rules of gambling, how we approach it, week in, week out basis, teasers, and all that stuff. But we do have a little surprise to start the podcast, and Dylan took a big trip to Cooperstown yesterday and got this nice signed helmet. That's a surprise. We don't know what's in the box, so tell us a little bit what you found at Cooperstown yesterday.
Yeah, no, we went to Lake House up in Richfield, which is right outside of Cooperstown. So we decided to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame, and we just walked through and in and out of all the stores. They had trading cards and all that cool stuff, sports memorabilia, bunch of different cool stores. Cooperstown's awesome. So Doubleday Field, the whole thing, it's just awesome. So,
how many card stores did you see there?
Oh, there's a lot. There was probably at least 5 or 6 stores that were just packed to the brim with sports memorabilia cards. Yeah, went in all of them. They're really, really cool. Cool vibe. Definitely worth going if you live in tri-state area. But yeah, so I went into Topps, which is obviously a card company, and they had these in the back, hit parade stuff. They had NHL, MLB, NFL, footballs, helmets, mini helmets, jerseys, everything, photos, signed. And then I saw these in the back, which I guess you open it up and you have no idea what's inside.
And for people listening and not watching in, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It's like a big box wrapped up. And you have no idea what's in this box.
No, I have no idea. They told us some of the key things to look for, like some of the key players, I guess, if you're in the business of like buying it for like resale value, like you buy it at a set price, not knowing it could be, the worst player or the best player. And they told us some of the key names. Jordan Love was at the top of the list. So I was laughing. I was like, could you imagine if we open this up and it's Jordan Love? But yeah, let's get right into it. I'll open this up and we'll check it out, see what it looks like.
I will say, if he opens this up and it's Jordan Love, Dylan has to buy a cheese head before.
I'll be wearing a cheese head after he throws 4 picks in week 1.
He's opening the box right now, just so it's authentic as it gets. We have no idea what's in this thing.
Yeah, and I'm the worst person in the world opening stuff up. So.
Don't worry. I don't want you to cut yourself with that knife either.
I fell down the stairs this morning. How about that? There's not much worse I can get, which was definitely my wife's fault, by the way.
Oh, all you need is a slice open of the hand. All right, he's got the plastic off here.
How about that for some?
Gotta love
toss that to the side.
You'll adjust the audio later.
Nice.
Wow, they really wrapped this up like crazy.
Yeah, I mean.
It's got
chances
tape.
Are, the way these scams are, these guys probably opened up fucking.
Oh wait! Before he opens it, let's give it. What do you think it's gonna be? Well, you said it could be quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Anything.
I would say I'm gonna lean
college
towards.
Too.
Yeah, I think it could be anything. Obviously we're hoping for Jets. I mean, I would think that would be pretty cool if it ended up being a Garrett Wilson or something along those lines.
I have a feeling it's gonna be a Zach Wilson signed Jets.
Oh come on, that would be so funny. All right, certificate of authenticity, I guess. Who knows?
Whatever.
Oh, what the? Oh, I was like, oh, it's black and gold.
It's gonna be Trubisky signed helmet.
No, it comes in this big.
So now inside of the box, there's a bag.
Yeah,
a duffel bag here.
Hit parade.
Oh, you know what? Not a bad.
All right, so let's see. Any little sneak peeks? Oh, looks like it's Arizona Cardinals. Maybe it looks like it's an Army green. Like, Tampa Bay Bucks. Do we get like Mike Evans?
Come on,
Mike Evans.
Stop.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right, for the people listening, it's an Army green.
I think it's 13, right? Mike Evans is 13.
Yeah. Army green Buccaneers helmet.
Oh, it's pretty cool
with the white Tampa Bay Buccaneers logo.
Yeah, it's like the military version, like the salute to service.
That's a fire helmet.
That's really cool. Mike Evans is definitely
salute to service.
I was going to talk about him today.
Yeah,
I had some notes. Yeah. That he was going to be one of the most undervalued.
I think
players.
It's deserving of center of the table.
Yeah. Let's stay right here,
dude. This is a fire helmet.
Yeah. Oh no, we spin it around. I guess so you can see. I guess that's his signature right there. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Honestly, like I know you going into it, you don't know what you're going to buy, but I mean, you can't be upset with that.
No, that's really cool.
Mike
Mike Evans is my guy, man. I love Mike Evans. One of the most underrated players of our time, anyway, for sure.
Yeah, 10 straight 1,000-yard season, or whatever the hell he's got.
I think he's got to get it this year for the record. I think this year he's going for the record.
As consistent as it gets. What a cool helmet.
Yeah, I mean, in honor of getting that, I might have to take his over 1,000.
Oh, it might be a lot.
All right, cool.
Wow. I mean, what a way to start the show.
Yeah, that was cool. I was expecting a standard issued helmet, like something more, like not matte finish or anything, just kind of a standard issued helmet. But that's pretty cool.
No,
they did a good job.
Like in terms of what you thought you were gonna get, I would be like, this is up there. I thought we were gonna get some backup that you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
All
right, cool. Let's get into it.
All right, we'll start the show off with a little preseason. The headliners. This just came out an hour and a half ago. 2 hours ago, Ceedee Lamb signing a 4-year, $136 million contract. What does this mean for Dallas now? I mean, we kind of expected it, but
I think it's regular scheduled business. I mean, you had to pay him. I think the Cowboys made out. I don't even think he's not resetting the market. He's not top paid, right? Because
I think he is biggest one. He's right up there with Jefferson.
But I think Jefferson's $35 million a year.
No, well.
I don't know that for sure, but I don't think he broke. Here, we'll look it up. Look it up.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
I don't think he broke to the highest paid receiver, which I think he had every right to kind of gun for. So I think in that sense, I think Dallas kind of wins on that. I mean, I think Dallas wanted like right around the 33 number. I think he wanted 35 plus, and I think they landed probably somewhere in the middle, right? 34.
Yeah, it makes him the second highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. The largest ever given to a wide receiver.
Yeah, maybe in totality, but like I think per year, I don't necessarily know.
Justin Jefferson's 4 years, 140.
Yeah.
So couple like a step or two behind him.
Yeah, he's $4 million behind. Yeah. So it's $1 million a year. So Justin Jefferson's right at the 35 mark. He's going to be at the 34 mark, which in fairness, I think he's there. I mean, we said it on the past. I said he could be anywhere from the top. I think he's well deserving of being a top 5 paid wide receiver in football. And I think Dallas wins that he doesn't go out there and reset and try to get some $37 million a year deal. So yeah, I like it. It's a good move for Dallas. Good move for Ceedee Lamb. He gets to stay in a huge market. I mean, if he would have left and ended up in Carolina or something like that, that would have been horrible for him. So I think it works out for both. I mean, it would have been awesome if he went to Kansas City. Yeah, but I think it works. I think he's better in Dallas.
Listen, it's a fair contract. If you compare it to Justin Jefferson, you'd say he's right there, right?
Yeah, I think they're doing this under the assumption that like I'm sure Dak has been in contract talks because his thing is looming too. His extension is looming. So I think that he's going to come into play, and he's probably going to get a lot of money too, depending on how he plays this year. But I think he's going to get a lot of money too, and I think those two staying together is a good thing for the NFL. It's a good thing for the fans.
They had to pay him. Like they had to pay him.
Yeah, they had to pay him.
Like I don't think he would have not played this year.
No,
I don't think he was always going to play, and that's kind of the signs that he gave to Jerry Jones. But good on Jerry actually doing the right thing. Like, hey, we won't give you Justin Jefferson money. We'll give you a tick under, even though Ceedee Lamb was number 1 in fantasy points last year. But he is probably second, third best wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how you plug these guys in, top 4. Top four. Yeah. I mean, no matter how, whether you want to mess around with the Tyreeks, the CDs, the Jamar Chases, and Ceedee Lamb, like those four guys, I mean, it's kind of interchangeable. I know there's preference to certain things, and certain people might have a hard stance that one is way better than the other. But I'm kind of in the middle of just saying they're all four of those guys are just as impactful to their team as the next.
Big relief for Dak.
Yeah.
I mean, even though you knew he was going to play, it's like still going in and be like, all right, finally.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
This has gotten done. Has he practiced? I don't even know.
Yeah. I think he's been practicing.
Okay. All right. I was going to say.
I don't know
like,
that. So
if you're Dak going into this, you're like, oh, boy. Like, who am I throwing to here? Just Ferguson? And, like, that's kind of it. But
yeah, no, I think it's big for Dallas. I think that they always kind of expected to get it done. But I'm happy for Dallas. I'm happy for Dak. I think that it's a good mix for both of them.
You lock them up.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean,
a lot of people also have low expectations. This is probably one of the first years that people are starting to take a back seat and they're starting to cave into the idea that maybe they're not as good as everyone always puts them up on a pedestal to be top 2, top 3 team. And now they're not really getting that credit. They're basically being, so it might be good for Dallas because I feel like a lot of times they have a lot of pressure on them to be like, we're considered to be a top 5 team. We have to play like one. Now they're kind of, they got ranked outside the top 10. A lot of people don't expect them to win the division. They think the Eagles are going to win the division. And you know how that goes. Look at guys like Geno, Zach Wilson, Geno Smith. Like when the pressure kind of gets taken off, it kind of, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It could propel them forward. So I think that Dallas is going to,
I mean, this gets right into is like, what do you think? Does Jamar Chase get that number?
Jamar Chase is going to get the number, I think, just because I think he's going to get the number because I think Joey B really fought to draft him because I remember everybody thought that was a little bit of a reach when they went and got him. I mean, I know it's hard to say that now.
Tackle instead,
yeah, they wanted offensive line issues. I mean, think about Joe Burrow. I mean, all the issues he's had with injuries and getting hurt because he wasn't being protected. I mean, that Titans playoff game, he got sacked like 13 times.
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought that they were going to go into offensive line, and they didn't. They drafted Jamar Chase, and obviously home run pick. I mean, the guy's unbelievable. They had great chemistry at LSU and transferred right into the NFL right away.
But you can say, the sacks have turned him into like getting hurt every year. I mean, for a while, I thought he was going down like the Andrew Luck path of.
I know.
Get this guy an offensive line.
Yeah. And they tried that one year. It didn't really work out that well, but they went out and got a bunch of guys. They just didn't really.
The problem is he's also like a gamer, right? Where he's going to try to extend plays. It's in his blood.
I think Jamar Chase is going to get at least what Jefferson's getting, and I think he might get a little bit more.
You think he's going to get more?
I think he's going to get 36, 37 million a year.
Ooh, man,
that's what I think that they're going to give him.
Listen, he's going to be right up there.
Yeah, they're going to give it to him. I think.
I
don't know that, but he like I think he's playing a little bit more hardball than CD was. I think he's playing like, hey.
Oh, he's trying to sit out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's playing hardball, and I don't think that because Jamar Chase can go get money from anywhere. Like, I mean, somebody's going to pay the number.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who. I don't know if the Bengals are in a position to do it, but I think that they're gonna. I think they're going to pay it. But if the Bengals don't pay it, somebody will.
We've seen this team get this close to winning a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
The Bengals. And if you want to do it, you have to keep
him.
You
can't lose him. You can't lose him.
He's the guy that you have to keep. He is right up there, top 4, top 5 wide receiver. So
yeah,
if you want to compete, you can't. They lost Boyd. You can't just go out there with T. Higgins, who is inconsistent as it gets.
Yeah.
He's a great wide receiver. You got him on the franchise tag, but like you're going to need another offensive weapon now that you lost Joe Mixon too. I know they're bringing Zach Moss, but you need Jamar Chase on the outside. He just opens so many things up.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to pay him, I think. My take is that he's going to get more than CD got. That's my take. I don't know if he's worth it, but
this brings us right into the Brandon Aiyuk situation. Is he wanted somewhere in the realm of 31 million. So is he worth that much? What do you think he's going to get? Or do you think that he actually stays on the 49ers now?
I think that he's worth it for the team that's gunning for him. I think like it's worth it for Washington to pay him because he has that rapport with Jaden Daniels. They played. I know it was only 1 year, but they put up good numbers when he played at Arizona State, right? That's where he played. And I think I was looking it up before. I think he had something like 50 receptions, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns in like a short game in like an 11-game period. So like they tore it up together. He's obviously a great wide receiver. I think he's a cut below those guys, but I definitely think he's in the upper echelon of receiver talent in the NFL. And especially if you got a guy like Terry, you're gonna help him out. Like Terry and him together, like they kind of go from like a team that was supposed to be really bad to like Brandon Aiyuk, Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels. If he can live up to the hype,
so you fully think he's going to the Commanders?
I think that he's worth the number for a team like the Commanders, because I think the Commanders are expected to be really bad, but I think if they pay a guy like him, they can automatically kind of shift themselves into like the outside playoff picture.
What return do you think the Commanders or the
well, I think they're I think that the Commanders aren't going to have to give up much to get him because I think like Brandon Aiyuk has left such a bad taste in the 49ers' mouth about like the way that he's acted and the way that he's denied these other trades. It's kind of like he's got all the leverage. He's kind of like, I'll go where I want to go. Otherwise, I'll play here and I'll put a mope on the whole time and just and shrug my shoulders around training camp. And like, I don't know. I feel like he's being a little bit of a baby about it, but
he definitely is.
But I get wanting to make the money. Like these guys, they have their one opportunity to go out. Like they perform well. They want to get paid for what they believe that they're worth. And I think that the Commanders are a good fit for him. So if he is going to go somewhere, I think it's Washington. I said it on week 1. That's where I thought he was going to go. So I think if he's going to go somewhere, I think he's going to go to Washington. But if he stays a 49er, I think he'll just ride out what he's got with the 49ers. I think he'll still play. I don't think he'll hold out. I think he'll play. But I don't think that he's going to get $30+ million a year from the 49ers.
I think if he was offered 28, 29, he should just take it. I mean, now that these guys have set the market tone, I mean, what does Debo make? 25, 26?
Yeah.
So if you're Brandon Aiyuk, you say, how much am I worth? Could you say the same? Or now that
I think he's worth more. I think he's worth more.
So how much more than
I think he's worth 30.
But in a trade, what do the 49ers actually get for? What do you ask for? Because it feels
you got to get something, right? Because if you know he's not going to re-sign,
yeah,
why not take whatever's given, right? I mean, I know you want to use him this year because you think he's talented, but if he's not going to give you the effort, if he's not going to have the mindset of I want to be here, I want to go out, I want to perform at a high level, like if he's just going to be like a moping baby, like go get your 3rd round pick, go get your 2nd round pick and send him off to Washington and let Washington pay him all the money. And then hopefully the pick turns into something,
I truly believe the 49ers actually need him bad. Like you can't bank on McCaffrey being healthy every year. He had 400 touches last year, including the playoffs. Debo has never played a full season in his life, and Kittle is getting 1 year older. I feel like you can't afford not to have the 26-year-old guy on your team. Just like, what do you have, 1,400 receiving yards last year, 1,300 receiving yards last year?
Yeah,
like,
he's good.
I feel like they need him. I know
they want him.
John Lynch is playing hardball, but like if it's over $1 million, $2 million, you might just want to like cut your ties and keep him a little bit.
Yeah, but I feel like it's also now that there's been so much like kind of like back and forth and like bad blood. I feel like it's kind of one of those things like, fuck it, we'll give you $31 million, and then I could see Aiyuk turn around and be like, nah, you know what? Forget it. I'll go test the free agency market.
They're the one team that doesn't get any repercussions for bad moves. Trade up to get Trey Lance. Worst pick maybe in NFL history.
Yeah, that turned into Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb. That made the Dolphins a contender.
Worse, and they get no flack for it. You talk about a team like the Jets, worst trade in NFL history for Aaron Rodgers if they don't win a Super Bowl. But the 49ers can draft Trey Lance.
That was pathetic.
And nothing.
And remember, a lot of people thought that they were like maybe going to hold where they were at and take Mac Jones, right?
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah, they thought they were going to. I mean, not that would have turned out to be anything different, but Trey Lance.
He made a Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, that is one of the worst trades
I think,
ever.
What is it, Mike or Kyle, not Mike Shanahan, was okay with with Mac. Like, he would have been all right with him, or like, he was fine.
Either way, it didn't really matter because Brock Purdy gets drafted last overall, right? I mean, Mr. Irrelevant, that was his nickname, right? And he turned out to be great for them. So I think it all works out, but it is amazing how other teams can benefit from things like that. I mean, like, look at it's unbelievable what Miami became because of that trade is insane. Dude.
I know.
It's insane.
Well, it leads us into the next thing, is Jahan Dotson being traded from the Commanders, which kind of like creaked open the door for this. Are they going after Brandon Aiyuk?
I think that's kind of, I don't necessarily know that was 100% the reason why the trade took place.
I don't think so either.
But I definitely think that it plays a big factor in them going for Aiyuk. Like, I think like it definitely was in the mix. Like, they definitely had that in the back of their head. Like, hey, let's open the door for this to happen. Let's let's make this trade. Let's go for Aiyuk and let's see what can happen. But I think it immediately makes the Eagles better. I mean, I think they already had maybe the best 1-2 combo in the NFL, or pretty close to it, with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And now adding Jahan Dotson as the third option, it kind of gives you the same vibes as like when Cincinnati was rolling Tyler Boyd out there. And like, as the third guy, it gives you those kind of vibes. It kind of gives you the Houston Texan vibes of having Tank Dell be the third guy. Like, I think Jahan Dotson is in the same mix as the Tyler Boyds and the Tank Dells. Like, I think he's going to make an impact. Like, he's a guy who, if he was the sole option on a team, would probably be 1,000-yard guy. And, now he's the third option. And I still think he could go out and get 700 plus,
I will say this morning I was diving into Washington Commander Reddit forums of what
we're all in on the Commanders this year. I don't know why. I don't know how this happened, but I'm all in on Jaden Daniels and the Commanders this year. I don't know why.
I wanted to hear honest thoughts of Dotson, like from their point of view of like, oh, you know what, this guy, listen. Anytime someone gets traded from their team, it's he sucked. We're better without him. But they firmly believe that he can't catch a football. Like, and I don't watch enough Commanders games to know that, but when their head coach comes out, what's his name? Quinn, is it? Or who's their head coach?
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, saying, we did that move because it's for the better of the team. And maybe he wasn't happy with the offensive scheme with Kingsbury now, and maybe he didn't like the way things were going, but it seemed like the Commander fans were happy, or kind of happy, that he's gone.
I think that's just them playing into the idea that he's gone. It's kind of like Giants fans, like, oh, well, good, Saquon's gone. Like, like he was the biggest overdraft ever. Like, we didn't need it. It's just like, well, you guys needed Saquon. Stop. I mean, come on. So I don't think it's nearly as drastic of a move as Saquon going to the Eagles. But
definitely not.
It helps the Eagles a lot. And I think Washington, he would have been an integral part in Washington's offense this year, like 100%.
Well, now you look into who's the number 2, and it could be McCaffrey's brother.
He's going to play the slot. They said he's going to permanently kind of slide into the slot section. I mean, maybe he'll take some outside stuff.
Like, I saw this online. He's 6'2", 200. I mean, that's like a decent. I thought he was much shorter than that.
No, he's going to be good. I mean, from the looks of things and what you're hearing from the camps, like, he earned a spot into playing the slot. I think they came out and made an announcement that they're going to try to play him as a slot receiver, and Terry's going to play the outside. And now you're hoping, as a Commanders fan, they go out and pay Brandon Aiyuk, and maybe they kind of shift into this team that, like, almost could maybe kind of compete for the division in a sense. I know that's a little crazy. It's a little like, whatever, a little bit of a reach, but I think that they could if Jaden Daniels plays better than expected, or lives up to the hype, I should say. Yeah. I think that they could be a real serious team. Like, so
I think their offense is going to be good.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. But I think it's like their defense.
Yeah, their defense has problems. They drafted that cornerback. I forget what his name is, but I know they have a rookie cornerback who they're kind of leaning a lot on. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Commanders. I like the idea of Brandon Aiyuk going there. Will it happen? I don't know. Do I think he's worth $31 million a year? I kind of do. I think wide receivers are pretty important, even though there's talent throughout the entire NFL at the wide receiver position. I do think when you get a guy who's in the upper echelon of that talent, I think it's worth paying him. So
it's, you go down the list of who's had over 1,300 receiving yards in a year, and it's like It's a short list.
Yeah.
You know?
Brandon Aiyuk's worth the money, so I'd pay him if I was the Commanders, or if I was any team.
If I was any team
on the fringe, like the Buffalo Bills now need a guy. Like a couple of these teams who are right on the fringe. Like a couple of these teams could use him.
Oh, I mean, there's no like when you look at the people or the teams that originally wanted him. You looked at the Steelers, the Patriots. They're saying here's a guy that could like significantly make our team better.
Yeah.
So if you have a team like the Patriots who are expecting to win 4 or 5 games this year, say we could use a guy like this, and they had a trade set up. I mean, it's like you know what? Maybe he is worth it to a team like the Commanders or even anyone better.
Yeah,
who's trying to make a Super Bowl run. But you know what? I don't know what team I hope he goes to, honestly.
I'm hoping he goes to the Commanders. I mean, we took all Jaden Daniels overs.
I know.
Let's roll.
Yeah, I also took Terry McLaurin over.
Yeah, it's true.
But that's not saying both of them still can't go over because there's plenty of yardage to go around.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about Jaden Daniels. Like,
absolutely.
He can throw the rock. All right, so moving on to our next subject. I know it's a little off the NFL topic, but something that is very important, at least to us. And if you're a fan of sports, anything is the kind of run Aaron Judge has been on so far.
Yeah, baby, Aaron Judge.
I didn't even see you had your Aaron Judge shirt.
Yeah, no, Aaron Judge is killing it, dude. Aaron Judge is.
What is he at, 52 right now?
51.
51.
Unless I think it's 51. He's on pace to break the 62 that he set in 2022, right? Yeah, I think I would love to see him break that. It's awesome. I mean,
he's got 30 games.
Yeah, between him and Ohtani, they're kind of keeping baseball pretty relevant right now. Last night, that was a fireworks show to see Ohtani steal the base to get to 40, and then the announcer's like, he's one swing away from going for 40, and then he comes to the plate, boom, hits it deep to center field. It is high, it is far, see ya! And he hits the grand slam to go 40-40. It's like, wow, these guys are keeping baseball relevant.
100%.
Like, you know, so I like what both of them are doing.
Seeing Soto Judge Stanton back.
Oh, that was so cool. Cool.
Barely see that.
Yeah, rarely see that, and it's so cool.
A lot of people hate on Michael K, but like the backtrack wall see it thing is like one of the coolest.
Yeah, it's awesome. Michael K, when fantasy becomes reality. Derek Jeter, final game. That was an awesome call. So I like what the Yankees are doing, and I think people give Giancarlo, they give Stanton a lot of flack for, he's overhyped, he's overpaid. Well, the Yankees aren't paying a lot of that contract, number one. And number two is when he's healthy and in the lineup, it makes it a lot harder to pitch around Judge and Soto. Like, you know what I mean? Like when he's in the lineup, you're kind of forced to pitch to Judge and Soto.
You can't put both of them on base.
I think his impact of being healthy, and plus what he's done in the playoffs, Stanton, people overlook how well he's played in the playoffs, and Judge really hasn't played that well in the playoffs. So I think if Stanton stays healthy, he helps them by just being in the lineup. Regardless of what he's doing, like these pitchers are well aware of the fact that now they can't really sneak by Judge or pitch around Judge and Soto because you just have Stanton sitting there. So I think that the Yankees are on a crash course to make a run. I think Shohei is playing out of his mind. So I mean, it would be cool. It'd be cool to see to see a good World Series, have a lot of people tuned in. I think it would be awesome to bring baseball back. But yeah, definitely worth touching on. Aaron Judge is playing, even since we recorded this. The last time we were here, I was like, oh, Judge is playing out of his face. Well, that hasn't stopped. I mean, it's week in, week out. I mean, the guy just continues to hit the shit out of the baseball. It's unbelievable to watch.
I really wish baseball was rigged to be Dodgers, Yankees. I mean,
I like the Phillies idea too, because the Phillies are a great team. They have a great fan base. They're East Coast, so it's kind of that rivalry, right? I mean, Philly's only 3 hours south, and you got Bryce Harper, who's also a big time player. They're playing good. So, but yeah, I mean, Dodgers, Yankees would be electric as well.
The problem is the Phillies make it in, the Yankees make it in. You have a whole left side of the country that just becomes uninterested at that point.
But it's such big market teams that like the viewership will be there. Like Bryce Harper is such a big name. Aaron Judge is such a big name. Juan Soto, like you get these guys, they just pull together people to watch the World Series. I understand the Dodgers would be great too. Yankees Dodgers, I'm sure is what a lot of people
that would be
a
World Series I would actually watch.
Yeah, well, I would watch either one.
So the average viewer of baseball is gonna watch this game, but like for the average sports fan who's maybe not into baseball as much, like someone like me, I would definitely tune in. I probably would tune into Phillies Yankees, but Dodgers Yankees,
Yeah, it would be awesome.
100%.
I mean, to put it in perspective, I'm walking through Cooperstown on Sunday, right? And you get to dude, I watch a lot of sports. We walk past, I'm like, oh, I forgot the Texas won the World Series last year. It's like kind of like that's where baseball has gotten to the point where I'm walking through Cooperstown and I'm thinking to myself as I'm walking through, who won the World Series last year?
The
that's
last 4 years.
That's so bad. I know it's bad. It's bad. So I know baseball is definitely taking a back seat. So I think it sucks that a lot of the responsibility falls on the big market teams. But I think teams like the Dodgers, teams like the Yankees, even the Phillies, like there's a couple other obviously big market teams, the Red Sox.
The sport is better when they're better.
Yeah, the sport is just better when these big market, big ticket names are in the World Series. It gets people to watch. It gets people to give a shit.
Honestly, that's every sport. Besides the NFL, where, Kansas City's top dog or New England, like every other sport outside the NFL they need the Knicks. They need the Lakers. They need like these big Celtics. Market teams to like succeed.
No, I agree with that. I think baseball definitely the most.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
But yeah, no, we'll see what happens. I'm excited for what Aaron Judge is doing. I think what he's doing is incredible. I think what Shohei Ohtani's doing is incredible. And I think they're both on a fast track to win MVP of both NL and AL. So I would love to see it happen for both of them. I'd love to see Shohei get 50-50. I'd love to see Judge break to 62.
I was just going to ask you, do you think Shohei gets to 50-50 and Judge get to 63?
I mean, that's what you're hoping for, right? As a sports fan, that's what you want to see. You want to see these guys hit these incredible markers. You want to say you were part of watching it.
Yeah.
That's part of sports, man. I mean, you want to see these things. You want to say to your kids and you want to say like, oh, I remember when Aaron Judge, hit 65 homers in 2024. I remember when Shohei went 50-50. Like, you want to say these things. That's the coolest part about sports.
50-50's never been done before.
Yeah. I mean, how many times do we sit around in a living room and we refer back to old sports moments? That's all guys do. They shoot the shit about sports and they talk about these games that they had money on or these incredible seasons. Me and you were shooting the shit about Barry Bonds stats for 20 minutes the other day.
Something I could always go on.
Yeah. So I think these kind of things are more important than, I know they're individual stats and maybe the guys will always come out in the media and say, oh, it doesn't matter as long as the team wins. Well, you know what? To the fans, it matters, Well,
you were talking about your dad the other day, talking about the Triple Crown. It was Miguel Cabrera. Right?
Yeah.
And then Judge has a chance at doing it this year.
I think Bobby Witt's going to have a stronghold on the average, and he's playing out of his mind too, which is good to see because he's a younger player for a smaller market
Kansas
team.
City. Yeah, you always want to see him do well.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just the fact that that's even in the conversation.
The fact that he has a chance.
Miguel Cabrera was the first player to do it. And I mean, don't quote me on this, but I want to say almost like 30 years.
The 60s, right? Or
yeah.
70s?
I don't know exactly when, but it was an incredible feat when he did it. And now that Judge is even in the mix to do it is amazing. So I like when certain players are on pace to do these incredible things, just like, when you get these Patrick Mahomes guys and when you get these guys who come in, like we saw Brady, we saw all these guys do these incredible things. And it's 90% of what we refer back to when we talk about sports. So, of course, I want to see these guys do it.
I remember being a kid, and even at that point, I think I maybe stopped playing baseball, but still, I was tuning into ESPN because they had the Barry Bonds at bat. Every time he stepped up, they cut away from what they were doing to see, even when he was 20 home runs away. What's he doing at this?
It's a travesty that I'm walking through fucking Cooperstown and I don't see a single thing about Barry Bonds. It's a travesty. It's unbelievable. Him, Roger Clemens, these guys are railroaded out of Canton.
I know.
Or not Canton, out of Cooperstown. It's unbelievable. But they're railroaded out of it. It's unbelievable. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. So we'll get into that at some other point in time. But, even like Pete Rose. The guy, he's a true gambler. He's a gambler.
And it's funny hearing like, you talk to anyone, it's like, if you mention gambler to like anyone older than our generation, which is like millennials, it's like, you gamble like Pete Rose probably gambled.
I know.
All right, Pete Rose was gambling on everything.
I know. Listen, I don't think those guys should be held out, especially with the numbers that they put up. But I guess, hey, baseball's is an old timer thing, man. They don't respect the steroid thing, and But to me, that was the most electric time in baseball when Mark McGwire was cranking 60 out and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds and A-Rod and
the pitchers
these guys
were doing it too,
Yeah.
So it's like you're playing on a level playing field.
I mean, dude, Barry Bonds won 7 MVPs, was top 5 in the MVP voting, I think another 5 or 6 times. The guy went on a 4-year stretch of hitting like 325 plus. His on-base percentage was insane. Then you got guys like Roger Clemens won 8 Cy Young awards. I mean,
all you have to do is watch Barry Bonds in his interview, looking at his at-bat first. What was it?
John Smoltz?
Was it? Or it was Greg Maddux.
Oh, Greg Maddux, okay.
From 1998, where he didn't remember the at-bat, but he was still going through. Oh, he's probably, the first pitch came out like this. He's probably going to want to do this the next pitch. And guess the entire at-bat. He didn't remember it. It was from 25 years ago.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy. These guys are insane.
And just to say, like, you know what? Steroids can do one thing, but you still have to hit the ball.
Yeah, no, for sure.
100%.
I mean, anybody who just believes that anybody can stick a needle in their ass and be the best player in sports is just insane. I mean, it's not the case. No. Sure, it enhances what you're doing on the field. It enhances coming back from injuries, and it's an advantage that not every player gets. So it is unfair.
But you can look at a player like him, and I've said this for so long. Like, I love Giancarlo Stanton. He's a guest hitter. If you throw him a slider away, he's missing it because he thinks it's a fastball.
Yeah.
But Barry Bonds actually, like, his intelligence at the plate is like unparalleled to any hitter in baseball. He knew what these Hall of Fame pitchers were going to throw him the next pitch, and even if he didn't guess that pitch, he knew what they were going to throw the following pitch.
I agree. I think that Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Roger Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame. I think these are players that are just.
We're in a different generation, man. I mean,
they're not even all-time greats. They're the best at what they did, I mean, so whatever. But that's a whole different subject for another day.
I know. The baseball banter is always good. I know, like, a lot of people may think baseball's not that exciting, and I'm one of those people who's not an avid watcher of baseball. No. But just to see Judge do these things, it's like...
Yeah, nobody's watching 162 games a year, but you're keeping in tune. You're keeping in touch.
You're looking at box scores.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm watching some of the Yankee games too, but I'm not keeping up with it like I used to, just because.
Like I'm casually opening up. The Judge hit a home run last
night. Yeah.
I probably did.
Yeah, you're.
It's starting to get ridiculous when he's like a little above even money to hit a home run.
To hit a home run, it's insane.
That's when that's an awesome feeling. I mean. I wanted to ask you this. I know we got in kind of nitty gritty, but like going forward, I know Ohtani does the pitching, but who would you rather have on your team, Judge or Ohtani?
I'd probably take Judge.
Oh, wow. That's not who I thought you were going to take. I thought you were going to say Ohtani just because of the pitching aspect.
Yeah, but he's not pitching right now.
No, I know, but going forward.
No, going forward, I would take Judge. I would take Judge. I think what Judge is doing right now is just insane. It's hard to.
I know.
How could you pick any other player besides Aaron Judge right now? Like, if you're asking me right now to go out, step on a baseball field, you could pick one player to be on your roster. I mean, it's impossible to go against Judge.
He could stop playing with 30 games left, MVP season.
Yeah.
Like people's career seasons, 52, 51 home runs, 122 RBIs.
Dude, there's only like 3 or 4 players who have hit over 50 like 3 times, I think. Like, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's crazy.
It's tough. I mean, the pitching aspect definitely brings in a different, like, maybe you want Ohtani, but especially in the playoffs because he now brings 2 aspects to the game.
Yeah, no, I like Judge. I would take Judge.
All right. Well, going on to that, we're going to get into a little would you rather here.
Okay.
These are always one of my favorite things, and we've talked about this before. When you scroll and you watch videos, you're kind of hooked on your opinion of would you rather this person or that person. So
absolutely, yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit quarterback first, and this is going to be one I'd love to hear your opinion on. Who would you rather have, Jordan Love or CJ Stroud on your team?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious for me. I mean, obviously not obvious to the general public. A lot of people obviously came to Jordan Love's defense when we posted what we posted, or when I posted my opinion of what I thought of him. But yeah, I would take CJ Stroud. I like what I see out of CJ Stroud. I mean, I know the numbers are similar, and I know Jordan Love came on strong at the end of last season and really did really well, but they both had a great performance in the playoffs.
Well, let me ask you this. If you took Jordan Love and you put him on the Texans, and you took C.J. Stroud and put him on the Packers, does it change your opinion on who you'd rather have?
I think Jordan Love's in a... It's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. It's really tough because people forget the Texans were expected to be really bad.
Oh, they were last year.
They were expected to be really bad, and
they
were unbelievable. Yeah. So I know Jordan Love gets a lot of credit for maybe not having a great supporting cast, but I think that it's similar. I think it's very, very, very close, and it's definitely a preference thing. It's not like, oh, absolutely C.J. Stroud or absolutely Jordan Love. But if you're asking me my opinion is I would take C.J. Stroud over Jordan Love.
Wow. You know what? It's definitely tough, and I'm not going to give a concrete answer because I honestly, Jordan Love had a good year last year, and so did C.J. Stroud. Stroud's rookie year, he didn't play the best versus the great defenses, but what quarterback did? Like, we talk about his game versus the Jets, and I know
everyone played bad versus
and
the
it was
Jets.
In the rain. He didn't play well. First game against the Ravens, he didn't play well, but it's like it was
he smoked the Browns.
Yeah, it was a top 3-4 defense in the league.
Smoked the Browns in the playoffs.
So
and then Dallas had a great defense, and Jordan Love smoked Dallas.
But I'm not going to sit here and say Jordan Love's better than Stroud because this is his 5th year in the league. Like, he has a lot of experience, and this is Stroud's true 2nd year.
Yeah.
Like, Jordan Love got to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, and I know you Packers fans just hate Aaron Rodgers now, and all of a sudden he's a terrible quarterback because he left your team, which is hilarious to see. Now all of a sudden every Packers fan hates Aaron Rodgers.
Like, the guy won back-to-back MVPs like 3 years ago.
Like, it's the funniest thing in the world. He wins you guys a Super Bowl and you hate him. I mean, I don't know if it was like that when Brett Favre left him, but it's like
they did hate him because he went to the Vikings.
It's almost like he started dating every one of Packers fans' sisters.
I know. It's crazy.
At the same time, which is crazy to me. But I'd like to see another year out of both of them and see what they do. But for right now, I probably will say, I don't know. If you're just basing it off their teams, you got to say Stroud because his team is stacked, right? Like the Texans going forward. No.
I'm saying just quarterback alone.
Quarterback alone?
Quarterback alone. Like, who would you rather on your team? Who's more talented? Who's a better quarterback in the NFL? Jordan Love or C.J. Stroud?
Stroud makes better decisions. I will say that.
Stroud's a better quarterback. That's where I'm going to leave it. I don't think it's definitive. I don't think there's a lot to prove on both ends. But right now, my
small
opinion,
sample size.
I'm rolling with C.J. Stroud.
All right, your next one. Who would you rather have, Dak Prescott or Jalen Hurts?
Oh, we've already went over this too. Yeah, no, I'm taking Dak all day. I think that's definitive.
Wow.
I think that's definitive. I think that Dak Prescott gets bashed for the rightfully so due to his playoff woes. Like, he's just not been great in the playoffs. And I know Jalen Hurts had that good Super Bowl game. I know they lost, but he played great in the Super Bowl. But that to me, you put Dak Prescott in the Eagles, I'm taking them to win the Super Bowl. So like and you put Jalen Hurts on the Cowboys this year with their team, I don't know if they make the playoffs.
That's tough. I mean, it's another one. I think that like the playoff picture of it has it comes into effect it's built into my brain at this point that Dak Prescott is not good at the playoffs.
I agree with you.
I agree with you. We've watched him year in and year out just miss easy throws in the playoffs, and last year he let Ceedee Lamb disappear in the first half because he gets, I don't know if he has like a Kirk Cousins primetime little mentality anxiety going on, but I would probably take Jalen Hurts just to the fact that he can run a little bit,
Yeah.
But again, they're on two different teams, so it's like I like the Eagles more than the Cowboys. I know it's not what we're talking about, but I think you're right. Like Dak would put up
the similar numbers regardless of where he played. I believe that. I believe that. I'm beyond the idea of thinking that the Cowboys propel Dak to be better. I think that Dak propels the Cowboys to be better. I believe that. Whereas I think it's the complete opposite with Jalen Hurts. I think the Eagles get pulled down by Jalen Hurts, and the Cowboys get propped up by Dak Prescott.
I think the Eagles get pulled down by Sirianni. But it is like you hear these reports that Jalen Hurts has a hard time now that Kelsey's gone of making these reads of, where the blitz is coming from, where he thinks it's coming from, what coverage he thinks. Maybe he can't change these plays at the line, like where Dak kind of has a better grasp on the game. But when it comes to actually throwing the ball, maybe doesn't make as good as decisions as Hurts does, but Hurts
still
plays
don't
a little.
think that.
He's a little more timid, right, in his throws, where it's like
I think Jalen Hurts.
They say like Jalen Hurts threw 1 interception in camp this year, but some people say that's a bad thing. Or is he playing too timid even in practice now because he's afraid of the consequences that come from it?
Dak Prescott's head over heels better.
You love
than
the Cowboys.
Hurts. I know. But it's not close, I don't think. I know a lot of the media thinks it's close. I think Dak Prescott is better than Jalen Hurts by a large
it's
margin.
close. Like, I honestly, as a Jet fan, if I had to pick between the two on my team,
Dak.
I would take Jalen.
No, you would
yes,
not.
I would. Just for the running portion of it.
Oh man.
I mean, I look at you got a guy like
me.
he can get you 40 yards on the ground every game. Where Dak, I'm not worried about Dak winning games. At this point, you got to say Hurts wins the games too. Like, he gets you. The Eagles, year in year out, get 10, 11 wins.
Yeah, and he absolutely faded into the abyss last year.
Their defense was so bad at the end. Their defense was terrible.
And he was horrible, too.
Yeah, but I'll blame it on the knee injury. But
we'll see what happens. But
there's no doubt,
I think we've been seeing what's happening, and I think Dak every year plays better than Jalen Hurts. I just think Jalen Hurts obviously has the team success to go along with it, the playoff success to go along with it. But last year, he got the shit kicked out of him. Nobody's talking about it. Everyone's like, oh, the Dallas sucks in the playoffs. Dude, I sat here and watched Tampa Bay beat the shit out of the fucking Eagles. Beat the shit out of them. Like, so Jalen Hurts doesn't get, I don't know.
To me, the Eagles have a better roster up and down than the Cowboys.
Dak, to me, is holding the 5th spot for the five best quarterbacks.
5 best quarterbacks?
I think he's holding the 5th spot. Maybe, I mean, that's a very opinionated thing.
All right, we'll switch into this then. Is going back to the Love Stroud, who would you rather have, Hurts or Love?
I think they're very similar.
It's close. Well,
it's close.
You're in the ballpark of thinking that Hurts is near ranked number 10 in quarterback, right?
Yeah, I think it's close. It's closer. It's close. That's really close. It's really close because like Jalen Hurts is taking a team far into the playoffs, and I guess Jordan Love took a team far into the playoffs last year too. I think it's close. You might. I know this is crazy, but I'd probably take Jordan Love
over Hurts.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm low. I'm way lower on Hurts than even meets the eye.
Jalen Hurts, huh?
I was a huge Jalen Hurts guy. I was the biggest Jalen Hurts guy there was. I thought he was going to be fantastic. It's just you watch him play. That's what happened. I watched him play.
Eagles fans are going to be so mad.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
You might get a bump up from the Packers fans. But
Jordan Love over Jalen Hurts. Yeah.
All right, so going forward, I mean, I have my answer, what I think you're going to say, but would you rather have Dak Prescott or C.J. Stroud then?
Dak.
Wow. All right.
Dak.
All right.
It's close, but Dak. Just because C.J. Stroud isn't like he's in the same boat as like he's not as proven. I know everyone's gonna be like, oh well, Jordan Love's not as proven either, and you took him. But I think Jalen Hurts. I think the talent level. I think Jordan Love's talent's here. Jalen Hurts' talent's down here, and I think that like C.J. Stroud and Dak Prescott's talent are very similar. Even if you want to put C.J. Stroud's talent a little bit above, I think Dak's like overall single regular season success like trumps,
it has to carry
it carries him over the hump. So I take Dak.
I think that's I mean the Hurts one surprised me because I think the Eagles are going to have a big year. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to make the Super Bowl this year at all. And I'm not going to say it's merely because of Hurts, but I think like
it'll definitely not
like
be
the way that he played in the Super Bowl. I thought was
fantastic.
I think Sirianni holds that team back, but this sounds stupid, but I think if you put Hurts on the 49ers, they probably win the Super Bowl by 3 touchdowns from like Shanahan's schemes like that he can do with Hurts. Like I'm a big Hurts guy.
We gotta move on. We gotta move on because I'm gonna say something crazy. Like Jalen Hurts is down here.
Well, all right, one final one we'll do real quick. This is just I saw it going around on Twitter. Is who would you rather have, Josh Allen or Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow.
I love the silence before
because I'm thinking I want to give an honest answer. I mean, I don't want to just spew shit for no reason. Josh Allen, I think, is his overall talent, like the things he can do. Like he has more of a wow factor with his, like he can run around and do some of the craziest things. His arm talent is insane. But to me, Joe Burrow just has, you have this gut feeling when Joe Burrow plays in a big moment that he's just going to perform and he's just going to get it done. Like that snow game in Buffalo. Remember, was that the DeMar Hamlin thing?
Oh, boy.
No,
it wasn't that game. Oh, yeah, you know what? I know what you're talking
Dude,
about.
there was a big snow game. They were beating up on the Bills. Like
that was like, yeah, they were beating.
They came back that 21-3 or whatever against Kansas City. They went on to the Super Bowl. I know he didn't punch it in and finish it, but the Rams were really good that year. You do kind of have
this hope where it's like, I see what you're saying. Like Joe Burrow never out of the game, and Josh Allen when he's facing a team like the Chiefs, it's like this kind of feels.
He's never out of the game either, though.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
But it kind of has the. If Joe Burrow had the lead, I don't think he's going to choke it. If Josh Allen has the lead, you see that
he's just riskier.
Yeah.
But I agree with what you're saying. Like that's just a riskier play. Like to me, I think their talent is pretty similar and their ability is pretty similar. Maybe Josh Allen has the edge in just overall ability, but I think Joe Burrow has the edge in staying cool, calm, collected, and punching in the winning ticket. So I would take Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that one to me is way tougher than the other ones we talk about because Josh Allen.
I think they're real close. I think they're 3-4.
I think we're going to see it this year of like, Joe Burrow's always had a great offensive core outside the offensive line, where Josh Allen's always had kind of a great offensive line, really good core with Diggs. We're going to see this year what
I think that they're 3-4. However, like I'm not mad if somebody says that Josh Allen's ahead of Burrow, and I'm not mad if somebody says Burrow's ahead of Allen. Like that's how close they are. I think they're closer than any of the other things you just mentioned.
Just for like health reasons, I would take Allen because his availability. I mean, even when he's hurt, he plays. Yeah. Where Joe Burrow,
which I don't hate that argument. That's what I'm saying. It's they're neck and neck. They're neck and neck. It's true opinion at that point. I think it's true opinion. Yeah, it's true opinion.
Do I think what would the Bengals be if Josh Allen was on that team? Super Bowl contenders like they are now.
Yeah, I think that they're interchangeable. I think they're very, very close. I lean Joe Burrow just for whatever reason. I just think he's more cool, calm, collected in the bigger moments. I think I have more confidence that he is going to win a football game. Sometimes I turn on the channel, I turn on TV and I'm watching the Bills play and I'm always like, even when I bet the Bills, I'm always like, please don't throw 4 interceptions today. Like, please don't fumble the ball in the red zone 3 times. Like, please, like just play like the normal Josh Allen I'm used to seeing on the highlight reels. Please, for Christ's sake, just play good.
Because that's what it always feels like is right around the corner is like the 4 turnover game.
And I feel like Joe Burrow always has that slower start and then like turns it on and he kind of doesn't look back. Whereas I feel like Josh Allen is a roller coaster all season. You know?
It's a fun roller coaster.
Yeah. They're both very talented. My opinion is that I lean Burrow.
All right. We'll get into the running back portion that we think here is this one. Would you rather have Breece Hall or Christian McCaffrey? Just this year. Which makes it maybe makes it.
Yeah, no, that's a different argument because if it's obviously if it's just moving forward, it's Breece Hall just due to age.
Yeah.
But just this year, it's a lot closer than your random fan thinks. Your random fan's just gonna run away and say
McCaffrey.
Yeah, McCaffrey's 1,000 times better. Which hey, he's done incredible things, but I do think that Breece Hall is closer than people think. Like just this year, production-wise, just because of the insane amount of touches and insane stats McCaffrey put up last year, I wouldn't be shocked if he's almost like bound to take a step back. Like it's almost impossible to take a step forward.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Breece Hall's just kind of getting into his own. I think he led running backs in receiving yards last year and receptions. I think he had like 70 some odd receptions for 500 plus yards. I think his quarterback's going to open up the offense this year. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have a breakout year. So if you're just talking about production from this year alone, I'm gonna lean Breece Hall. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at anybody who takes McCaffrey, obviously. But if you're asking me my opinion, maybe a little bit of Jets biasness creeping in. Yeah. But I'm gonna take Breece Hall this year.
I know. So many people are gonna get mad at this, but we have a Jets poster on the wall. I'm wearing a Jets hat on my head. I would probably rather have Breece Hall too, because I don't think McCaffrey has touched the ball this many times in the previous year and has came back and played a full season.
I know.
You know, he hasn't played. He's dealing with some calf or ankle injury right now. So
the Niners in general have a lot of injuries.
I truly, and I mean this, like Breece Hall had an amazing year last year when every team was stacking 8 in the box because Zach Wilson can't throw the ball. They're playing 2 tight end personnel, and Breece Hall still had an amazing year. I truly believe that if you put Breece Hall in the 49ers, they're the same exact team.
Yeah.
They don't take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
If anything,
I think it's interchangeable, though.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. They're the same.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I'm only going to roll with Breece Hall just because I think it's nearly impossible for McCaffrey to kind of recreate what he did last year. What he did last year is so incredible that it almost just feels like it's inevitable for him to kind of just cool off a little bit.
He was like one of the first running backs since AP that was in the MVP discussion.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so, rightfully so.
Not taking anything away from the guy, but it's like and at this point, just to say this, I feel bad for people who have the first overall pick in fantasy because you have to take him.
Yeah.
But
listen,
does he emulate what he did last year? I don't know.
Listen, I think that they're similar in talent, similar in ability, and I think Christian McCaffrey's situation either stayed the same or got a little bit worse due to the fact that the injuries are there and Brandon Aiyuk might not be available. And I think Breece Hall's situation got a lot better with Aaron Rodgers opening up the offense, the team getting a lot better, him getting a lot more goal line carries, a lot more just carries in the red zone, for Christ's sake. Yeah. So I think I'm going to take Breece Hall.
People are going to think we're crazy, but if you take the 49ers last year and you remove Brock Purdy and you put in Zach Wilson and you remove Debo and add in Allen Lazard, you know what? McCaffrey's job gets a little bit tougher.
Yeah, a lot tougher. I like Breece Hall in that situation. I know it's probably not a very, very unpopular opinion.
We're going to get killed.
But I'll take Breece Hall.
But following up that many touches, now that he's going on 28 years old, that many touches, I mean, I haven't trusted him for years, but just especially after last year, it's tough to live up to.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one. We're going to go with who would you rather have, Bijan Robinson or Gibbs from the Lions?
Bijan. Yeah, I think Bijan's just his talent is so untapped because of how bad their offense was last year with Desmond Ridder. This guy's terrible. And I think Bijan Robinson's just even the little stuff. I know it doesn't necessarily matter, but remember that clip, the aerial clip that they had in slow motion of him juking 7 people out of their shoes and running it in for a touchdown. His raw ability is insane. And I know Jahmyr Gibbs has got insane ability as well, but I think that David Montgomery is going to help him out in the red zone. He's going to take a lot of that pressure off him in the red zone. And I just think overall, I like Bijan. I think Bijan's ceiling is higher, so I'll roll with Bijan.
Those two are to me interchangeable. I mean, Bijan, that clip that we watched that you're talking about, Bijan is one of the coolest clips I think the NFL has actually ever put out.
Yeah, it was history. So cool.
It's up there with the OBJ one-handed catch, one of the best clips ever. But Gibbs has had this dynamic, and it's the same thing, like you said, the Falcons were putting in Algier when it's why aren't we putting in Bijan here? And it's the Lions did the same thing. Why are they running Montgomery?
Montgomery's better than Algier, but I get it. I get your point. It's why are you taking the shine away?
Yeah, it's this guy got you down the field with these spectacular plays, and it's when you know what, you put this guy in a goal line just for a halfback dive to steal the glory. Listen, we saw the Lions did it all the time with Williams and Swift, and the Eagles did it last year with Swift and Gainwell or Boston Scott. It's these teams do this stuff just so these guys don't get injured.
Yeah, I would,
but it's.
I would definitely. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a disappointment this year. I think that not from a talent perspective, but from a pure production perspective, I think that Bijan Robinson is going to outperform him in basically every category. So
yeah. I mean, it's tough to argue with you there.
Yeah.
Now that he has Kirk Cousins there, I feel it's
he'll have more receptions, more receiving yards, more rushing yards.
To me, I feel like they turn into the Lions' offense last year. I feel like the Falcons are going to turn into that same type
they're going to
30-plus points a game.
They're going to put up numbers,
Don't be afraid to take anyone on that fit for fantasy on that team because they're just going to rack up the points.
Yeah,
you can deal the Kyle Pitts, the Drake London now, and Bijan. It's everyone's going to get theirs on that team.
Absolutely. I like Bijan Robinson over Gibbs.
All right, going on to our next subject here. I have this typed in as who's your most undervalued player in this, going into it. We're gonna do wide receiver edition. So
Right here, baby.
Helmet's right next to us that we just opened up.
Right here, baby. That's what I told you. I was going to probably roll with this player going into this podcast, like when we had this like brief discussion about maybe touching on this. Yeah. I think.
All right, going into our next topic, we're going to talk a little bit about who is our most undervalued wide receiver going into the league this year.
Right here, baby. Mike Evans. We didn't know we were going to get that, by the way. So I don't know if anybody. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's watching this out of context, but Mike Evans, to me, is the most underappreciated receiver in a long time. I mean, nobody really talks about him. Everybody kind of always overlooks him, whether it be in fantasy or just regular banter about the NFL. I feel like everybody's quicker to put these other names in the mix. And the guy, year in, year out, 1,000 yards. Outside of a couple of years he had Brady, really hasn't had anybody overly talented throwing him the football. He's just had a bunch of okay guys in there. And the guy just like fails. Like he just never doesn't produce. He always goes out there. He always has a bunch of catches. He always is a threat in the red zone. He's got the height. He's got the hands. He's got the mentality. I think that Mike Evans is debatably the most underrated player in the NFL as far as position player. If you're not talking about O-line, D-line, stuff like that. Like if you're
we're just talking about wide receiver.
Yeah, wide receiver is the most underappreciated wide receiver in the NFL.
I mean, it's tough to argue. It's crazy that like Dylan and I were talking about this like today. You literally just opened up a signed helmet from that. You had no idea.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome.
So crazy.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Man, I'm at a crossroads here because like. You took Mike Evans. I have a couple names written down, so I'm just going to say them. I think Jalen Waddle is very underappreciated in the Miami. Before Tyreek got there, he was in discussion as the top 10 wide receiver going into, year in and year out. Now Tyreek Hill got there. It's like, does he take a step back? I still think he's so like he could be a wide receiver 1 on any other football team. Let's say what you want about Tua. He still gets him the ball. He's still like probably 100 receiving, over 1,000 yards every year. And then another name I've written down, which I think on some of these other teams you could say would be an absolute stud, is DK Metcalf.
Oh, yeah, I like that. DK Metcalf is very, very
Never
good.
Talked about up there with the Jamar Chases of the world but like I feel like if you put DK Metcalf on the Bengals with Joe Burrow, I feel like he puts up Chase numbers. Like
I think Chase is probably has a different skill set, but they're like I do think DK is so imposing as a like you've seen those clips of guys crossing trying to catch him off guard, crossing the middle and trying to hit him, and DK Metcalf just like, oh, who just hit me? And the guy just like falls over. Like these guys are trying to stick him, and he's just like, oh, somebody just bumped into me. So he is unbelievable.
I truly believe this. Like I was talking about this with Mastro today. It's like you could put him at anywhere on the field outside of offensive linemen, and he would probably be pretty disgusting.
Yeah, I mean,
like
he's
if you
freak.
put him at tight end, I truly believe this, that he could go out there and hit a defensive end just as hard as they could hit him.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's physically so imposing. He's an unbelievable talent, an athletic freak. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think he's underappreciated for sure.
I think that like Seattle team, like
I think Tyler Lockett might even be in the same discussion, and he's on the same team.
Yeah, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like their wide receiving core of this year is
good.
Oh, it's great. Well, Tyler Lockett, you're right. He's been Mr. Undervalued for
forever.
For his whole entire career.
For forever. Because even when DK got there, I know your argument fits for sure, but it's DK. Well, nobody really talks about Tyler Lockett, and the guy year in, year out just seems to produce for them.
There's so many guys like that. I feel like, and we've talked about Terry McLaurin 100 times.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin.
Like they fit these. Since they're not the Ceedee Lambs, the Tyreek Hill, the Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams names, it's like you forget about them. But they have the talent and the skill set to be.
Yeah, it's all about who's throwing you the football, right? I mean, a lot of that's why I think guys like Mike Evans, who year in, year out break 1,000 yards and just start to. They do it so quietly that they start to like break NFL records without anybody really even realizing, So that's why I like Mike Evans as the pick, but I definitely think the other guys you mentioned fit the bill.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, going back to all this stuff, it's like most of the time I was a firm believer for the longest time that quarterbacks make wide receivers don't make quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, they might make the quarterback. Like they're that talented where they actually doesn't matter who's playing, just throw them the ball and they're gonna.
Yeah, I mean Tyreek Hill kind of proved it, right? I mean he left Mahomes and everyone thought on both ends. There was two sides to the argument, right? There were the guys who said, "Oh, Tyreek Hill is going to be nothing without Mahomes, and Mahomes is going to be nothing without Tyreek." Yeah. And I think both of them proved that they are very independent players. Like in and of it, like by themselves, they can go out and Mahomes can do it with anybody. He's obviously proved that, and I think Tyreek has proved that he turned Tua into a stat machine. So like,
well, I think what I feel like both of them. Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill kind of confirmed their greatness individually, where Patrick Mahomes, everyone said, "Oh, what can he do without Tyreek Hill?" And he said, "Well, I'll kill you with the short ball then.
Yeah.
You want me to go out and be a Tom Brady and throw these 8 to 10 yard passes and pick you apart all game? I'll move down the field and I'll do it."
Yeah, and he did.
And he did. And then Tua is the same thing. Like, oh, he's only doing it because Patty Mahomes is so amazing. Well, he went out there with Tua and did the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I agree.
It's just... I mean, going back to it, who would you rather have, Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill or Ceedee Lamb? I'll throw in there. One of the three.
Oh man, it's they're three different players. I would say Ceedee Lamb is an incredible like route runner who
play it all inside outside.
Yeah, inside outside. He's like a very very well-rounded receiver. I feel like Tyreek Hill is just an absolute burner. Like the guy can just blow by anybody in football. So that's such an unbelievable thing to have in your back pocket. And then I think Jamar Chase is a little bit of both. Like I don't necessarily think he's a burner, but I don't necessarily think he's the cleanest route runner. Yeah. But I think he's kind of like a mixture of both. Like he'll blow by you and he'll get those 80-yard touchdowns, but he'll also create space and kind of get open. And then Justin Jefferson is probably the best of the best. So I would probably have to say Justin Jefferson is who I would take, but I am right there on taking Hill. I'm right there on taking Hill. I know Ceedee and Jamar are very, very talented in their own right, but like what Tyreek Hill has is just something that you could never recreate what he has. Like, you know what I mean? It's just unbelievable.
To me, it's a 2-horse race, Jefferson or Hill. They've been doing it for the last couple of years, but like
I think Justin Jefferson
for 1 year, I think you have to go Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough though, because then you watch what Justin Jefferson did with Nick Mullins, and you're like, oh my goodness, like this guy is just flat out that dude, huh? Like he's just that dude.
It goes back to the argument of what was Tua before Hill.
Yeah, no, I get it, but Nick Mullins is a step back from Tua.
A lot.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, like, and he was on pace to break the record with Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. So I would have to. I think it's impossible to go away from Justin Jefferson at this very moment. But I'm a big Tyreek Hill guy.
Oh, me too. Flip a coin, but I'd hope the coin kind of landed on Hill.
Yeah. I wouldn't. You're not mad either way. And I think it's I think Justin Jefferson is just so good at every aspect of what he does at receiver, like that it's very difficult to go away from him. Whereas Tyreek Hill can almost kind of be pawned off as a one-trick pony, even though he's not. But I think a lot of the public kind of views him as, oh, like if he wasn't as fast as he was, he wouldn't be anything. Like, you know, like, So I think a lot of people try to pawn him off as a one-trick pony, which I think he's a great route runner. I think he's got good hands. But I would take Justin Jefferson. I've seen Justin Jefferson make some of the most incredible catches I've ever seen. That 4th and 16 catch he made against the Bills in that game. Remember?
I mean,
that was ridiculous.
Randy Moss.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. So I would go Justin Jefferson.
All right, we're going to start getting into a little bit of like betting topics here, but we'll start it off with something more simple that most people do in any of their at work or with their friends is kind of talk about like a survivor pool. And for those of you that don't know what a survivor pool is, it's basically you join it with however many people. You pick who's going to win that week. If you win, you advance. If you lose, you're done. You can only use a team one time during the year. I've only played this one time, but I've done a lot of research in it. I know that you play this. What is your strategy that you kind of go into it?
It really just depends on what kind of league you're in, because there's a lot of leagues that offer buybacks for the first 3 weeks.
No.
So if you're in a league that is offering a buyback in the first 3 weeks, like where if you lose, you can kind of get back into the pool. If that's the case, then you almost take the really bad teams, you know, because you're trying to get them checked off your board, you know. or middle of the road teams, I should say. Like you take a team like Washington or you take a team like the Giants. Like you try to knock them off of your board early. And then if you lose, you buy back in. Yeah. But if you're not in a buyback situation, I think what you do is you take some of the surefire wins early on because you don't want to get knocked out early. So you take some of the surefire wins early.
So you're just a survive in advance guy if you're not in a buyback league.
Yeah. You're taking the win. Obviously, you're kind of looking at schedules, right? Because you wanna find who go look at the very tail end of the year, like not to get ahead of yourself, but you kind of look at the last 5 weeks of the season and see what teams have great matchups at the tail end of the year. And if you see those matchups, like you see great teams facing really bad teams at the tail end, you kind of try to save those 4 or 5 teams for the end. But then once you take them out of your mix, you're really just looking for those surefire wins. A lot of these
survivor pools will do Thanksgiving Day is its own week. Yeah. Christmas Day is its own thing. And then you have to start looking for the teams that you don't want to, like Kansas City's playing on both. 49ers are playing on both Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like you have to like kind of pull back the reins on using those teams until maybe you get to that. But you got, like you say, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. Like obviously you want to go and look at survive in advance. Everyone's going to take the Bengals week 1 against the Patriots.
Well, I mean, it's a good.
Do you want to save the Bengals in that sense, or do you want to just, you know what, if I'm going to take them, everyone's probably taking them? Or do you look at, we'll give you just another option is the Saints are playing the Panthers. Do you say, I'm going to hold off on the Bengals. I'm going to save them for later.
It's a good week to roll with the Saints. I mean, I know it's tough early because you don't want to be knocked out and you don't know what Bryce Young's going to come out looking like this year, but you would like to think that the Saints are going to win that football game. So, and it's a team you probably don't feel too confident in many other weeks. So it's a tough strategy, but survivor leagues are fun. They're definitely fun, especially when you make it into like the week 7, week 8, and you're still there and you're seeing guys get knocked out. Sometimes you kind of try to go against the grain a little bit. Like if you see because most of the time you can look and see what everybody else has in this league.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you see, 60 out of 80 guys are rolling with the Bengals over the Patriots, then if you find another thing, maybe take that other thing if you're just as confident, because then God forbid the Patriots come out of the gate and they do something crazy. 60 guys are knocked out of your league.
Well, so all it takes is Joe Burrow getting hurt in the first quarter, and then now you have a ball game.
There's a lot of things to look in survivor pools, but overall they're just fun to be in. I think like obviously general rule of thumb, but you're betting against bad teams more than you are betting with good teams.
Yeah, you look at like, all right, who's playing the Patriots this week? Who's playing the Panthers this week?
Yeah, you're going against the bad teams, which is...
You can't go wrong, and honestly, this is a huge thing. You download the ESPN app. You go look at what the spread is. You go look at what they'll give the percentage of win. Like, hey, this team this week, hey, the Bengals, they're 9.5-point favorites against the Patriots. They have an 83% chance of winning the game. Week in, week out, you can go and look at that if you don't know. But I would say try not to get too cute. I feel like that's like the biggest thing. Don't stay away from division games. That's like the one thing that I can pull away from this is, hey, just because the Eagles are playing the Commanders, don't think it's a shoot. Those games have been close the last couple of years between those two.
No, I get it.
But you know what? Easy picks are... Cowboys have been killing the Giants the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's true.
That's like an easy one. Now, switching off of survivor pool topics, we'll talk about just regular betting topics and kind of talk about what Dylan and I usually do. And this is more of like the recreational bettor is kind of just, we're not talking about just sitting down. Hey, you know what? I'm a big Giants fan or a Jets fan. I'll take them regardless of what the spread is. It's kind of like going into these games, actually looking into it, and it's what you want. Are you going to sit down? Or are you doing this for enjoyment? Or are you kind of doing this to, hey, I really think that
I'm trying to win some money.
This outcome's going to happen. I like this spread. I'm going to try to win some money. That's perfect.
I've always attacked gambling from the aspect of steer away from parlays. Like, obviously, you can still take parlays when you want, but the winning percentage on parlays that break outside of the 3-game parlay mark are just so low, So don't put in a gazillion $5 parlays trying to be a millionaire. Like, your idea of it is I think people overlook the teaser a lot. I think 2 and 3 team teasers, whether it's a 2-team 6-point teaser or a 3-team 10-point teaser. I think that they're very, very valuable things to take. And I know a lot of people get scared away because you're risking 1,200 to win 1,000, or you're risking whatever 120 to win 100, whatever your unit number is.
Yeah.
And that can scare people away, right? Because they don't want to risk more than they're going to win. But whenever you're in a situation like that, if you can get 3 of your favorite games for the week and you can add 10 points to the spread in your favor, that's such a better way to go about gambling than just throwing in your 9-team parlay and hoping to God it hits.
Yeah, the money line. The 4-game money line parlay.
I would say every week I try to pick out my 3 favorite games and put that in a 3-team 10-point teaser. And then I usually look for an earlier matchup and a late matchup. So an early matchup, I try to take like just a straight bet on a team I think is going to cover the spread one way or the other, underdog or favorite. And then if I do hit that, I kind of roll that on to maybe a 4:00 game. And then if you're really, really feeling it, your 3-team teaser hits, your early game hits, and then you roll it into your late game, and your late game hits, and now you're sitting on the top of the hill. You got everything. Maybe you take the profits from the 2 games that you took throughout the day, like the 1:00 and the 4:00. And if you're really, really, really that confident in the late game, then you could take the late game. The only advice I would give is don't chase unless you were already expecting to maybe take the game. Like if you lose your 1:00 game, don't panic just try to throw money on the 4:00 game just because you want to win your money back, because then you're just going to dig yourself into a hole that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you lose your 1:00 game, but you were already planning on kind of taking this 4:00 game, like it depends on how much money you lost. If you lost enough where you're like, okay, I just got to take a breather and move into next week, that's fine. But if you just lost a little bit of money and you were already probably going to take the 4:00 game and you really like it, then take it. You know, I just think the chasing aspect, like when guys lose all this money on Sunday, chase the Sunday night game, then they lose, then they chase the Monday night game, then they lose, then they chase the Thursday night game. Like that's never a good habit to have.
Every Sunday is a new week, right? I mean, and a lot of the games that we'll go over, and we'll get into this next week too, is we'll pick our 3 favorite games against the spread next week of going into week 1. But Dylan hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's rarity. I put in more teasers than I do straight bets, not even close. Yeah. And we'll talk about, 3-game 10 points where you can add the team that you like is going to get 10 more points than what the spread is. And that's fine. I mean, my favorite thing is it's called the Wong teaser. It's a 2-game 6-point, 2-game 6.5-point. And that's just only 2 teams. You pick 2 teams and they need to cover that 6.5 or 6-point teaser, whatever one that you pick. And I think the biggest takeaway from this, and it's like, this is something that I learned throughout the last couple of years, is moving through the key numbers, right? Yeah. I mean, and the key numbers, 7, 3, and those are it. Like you don't want to, if a team is -3, you don't want to take a 6-point teaser just to make them +3, because then they could easily just, lose a game by 3, and then a push is a loss. So you have to move through these numbers where if a team's -7 and you get a 6-point tease and you move them down to -1, that's kind of what we're talking about. Or if a team, for example, if the Chiefs are -10 and you take a 10-point tease, all they do is need to win the game. That's kind of moving through those 2 key numbers.
Yeah, like basically saying like if you are getting or giving points, you want to be getting more than 7 or 3. So even if it's 3.5 or 7.5, and you want to be giving less than 7 or 3, so 6.5 or 2.5.
Yeah.
So that's basically like where you want to be when you're betting on these games.
And we'll try to give out, one teaser a week. We're gonna do like
we're gonna be giving out picks.
We're gonna do like our favorite 3-game 10-point, and we're gonna be doing our favorite 2-game 6-point.
You're gonna love me or hate me by week 3. I'll tell you that, because I'm gonna be firing off picks.
We are gonna also be forcing, and Dylan doesn't know this yet, but we are gonna give our 3 normal picks of against the spread of just games solo, and then we'll do our record.
I'm going to be giving out bare minimum of a 3-team teaser and 2 games to bet heavy on every week. I mean, that's how I'm rolling. I'm going to be giving them out.
Bet responsibly, please.
Yeah, I'm going to be giving them out. I mean, I'm going to be giving them out. I've done pretty well gambling, so I'm confident enough to give out the picks, and I could take the heat if I give out bad picks and I get dogged for it in the comments, then so be it. But I think that I've had a good enough track record where me giving out picks is valuable to whoever's willing to roll.
And listen, they're not just going to be like, oh my goodness, like we like this team because it's, this person. Like, we will have some thought brought into it to make you feel comfortable of taking it or not taking it. But that's kind of like, we're going to be doing these things called teasers. So, I mean, it's kind of something that you're going to have to learn along the way, and we'll try to teach it to you as best as we can. But it's something that we've been doing for a while. So I feel pretty comfortable doing it, and that's why we're here now, honestly.
There'll be a point in the year where I say I can quit my job. I'm the best gambler of all time. And then there's going to be a point in the year where I think that Christmas is going to be light. You know what I mean? I mean, it's going to go both ways. The roller coaster is in full effect come football season. I mean, I'm up and down, but I would say throughout the years, I've been gambling for 10, 11 years now, and I have a very good track record, and I'm in the black by quite a bit. So I'm happy and confident to give out the picks, and I'm ready to rock and roll come regular season football, baby.
Oh yeah. All right, so we're good on betting for now. So next week we're gonna just get into, now that it's coming up on week 1 next week, we'll get into what we like, what teams we like, and all that stuff. So we won't kill you this week with knowledge, but we'll get moving into our next topic as quickly before week 0 has already started in college football. Is little college football top 25, who we think is going to be great this year. I don't know if you've looked into too much of this still. I
haven't looked into much, but I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, college football kind of tends to be the same key names, you know. I mean, the I'm sure Georgia's in there. I'm sure I'm sure Michigan's probably somewhere in the top 10. I don't know where, but I'm sure, I saw Ole Miss was 6.
Yeah.
I like Texas. Texas is a team for me that I really hope plays well.
Michigan, week 2.
Oh, I like that. Michigan. I like that. Yeah. I'll be pulling for Texas for whatever reason. I just like them. I want to see Texas play well. I know it's a 12-team college football playoff, so I mean, it's going to go one of two ways, right? It's either going to be the best thing they ever did, and everybody's going to, like all these smaller schools that get in there on the back end and that seed 10, 11, 12, they're either going to be electric and beat some big teams, and everyone's going to be like, this is the greatest thing ever, or all the best teams are just going to beat the dog shit out of the worst teams, and everyone's going to be like, why do we ever do this?
And Iowa and the Nebraska saying like, hey, we can sneak in.
And I like that though. I like when the Cinderella stories play well. It's like in March Madness, right? Like when these 16 seed teams make runs, and when these 14 seed teams make runs. So it's like, I think the same effect will happen with the 12 football team, the 12 team playoff. So.
I truly believe like this year mixing it up now that Oregon and USC and UCLA, going to the Big Ten or whatever, I do think they're in for a little bit of a wake-up call. It's like they're not going to have the 60, 70-point shootouts that they're used to playing Oregon State or Washington, Like I think now it's, how's USC going to be playing at a 12 o'clock noon game every week now? It's going to be tougher. Like I think USC and I think Oregon, who's like, I think preseason ranked top 3, that I think they're going to struggle week in and week out versus these teams. And I think it's going to be a different brand of football. It's going to be fun to watch. I think so. Like all this, everyone is upset about, joining different conferences, and it's taken away from the purity of the game. To me, is like,
makes it more exciting.
I'm not a huge college football fan, but to me, it makes it like way more exciting.
Way more exciting. Yeah. I mean,
and this is, to me, is like, this year is the most wide open now that Saban's not at Alabama. Georgia's still obviously the favorite, but it's like, to me, it feels like almost anyone can kind of win this. Like you said, Ole Miss, number 6 to me. And I'm just throwing out there. I love Ole Miss to make the playoffs at minus 130. It's one bet that I love more than anything. They have 2 tough games on their schedule. One, and they're at home against Georgia, where if you're going to play Georgia, you want to play them at home. And another week against LSU, who after Jane Daniels left and, their wide receivers, you feel like might take a step back. It's a team that outside of those two, they don't really have a hard schedule this year. And you got to think Florida State just lost this week, who was 10, those chances. And I feel terrible for Florida State. I mean,
I'm not going to have a good gauge on college football until we get into a few weeks because I feel like it's so hard to do these preseason things with college football.
Like week 1, they play nobody. I mean,
it's just like so up in the air.
Ohio State's playing Akron week 1. It's like Tennessee's playing Chattanooga, and like these teams play. It's been my number one thing with college football. It's like, these guys play no one for like the first 3 weeks. I mean, you'll get your good games, right? Like Notre Dame and Texas A&M is playing week 1. Like that'll probably be a good game. But
Georgia and Clemson, right?
Yeah, Georgia, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like those are your 2 good games.
Yeah. No, which is fine. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to give like any solid advice on college football until I see a few of these teams play. I like to watch, like, because it's so much in and out, right? Like so many players leaving these organizations, so many new players coming in.
It's tough to keep up with.
Yeah,
with the portal.
I like to watch a couple of weeks of college football before I'm out here making these ridiculous claims on teams. So for me, college football will be on the back burner until a few weeks. Like maybe week 3, week 4, I'll be confident to come on here and be like, hey, I've watched a couple of weeks of these teams now, and I think X, Y, or Z, about whoever.
To me, it's like, listening to Nick Saban, he's talking about Ole Miss and how they bolstered up their offensive line. And he's like, this is something I think that, Lane Kiffin's going to come out this year, and they're going to be like a real, like, to me, that's big coming from a guy like him.
Yeah.
Like, that means something. Like, hey, watch out for this team because now they're doing things a different way. They're doing it a way that I would do it.
Yeah.
And that means a lot. So it's
I
going to be
like the
interesting
pick,
to
man.
see,
I like giving a little action on college football early. Ole Miss minus 130 to make
just
the playoff.
a future, something that you can look out for the whole year. I mean,
college
football
the bank is what you can do.
College football is one of those things week in and week out. I don't know how they make the lines for this. It's like, oh, well, Georgia's going to be minus 56 against Kent State this week.
It's tough. I try to stay away from it as much as I can from like a serious gambling perspective. But like then once things get deeper down into the season and these bigger marquee matchups come in, I like to throw a little bit of money around.
Yeah, it's always fun just to sit around and watch, but like nothing like ultra serious. But
all right, what do you think? I mean, we're probably an hour and
we're
coming
pretty
up on
far
an hour
into
and 30 in.
One last thing I wanted to add is going into the last last tournament here, the golf PGA Tour Championship at East Lake this week. Keegan Bradley won last week, making him one of the better stories of 2024 golf-wise. He went in the first round, just sneaking into the top 70 or sneaking into the second round at top 50. He left his round, the first round of playoffs, being number 51 or 52 on a Sunday. Gets a phone call from Billy Horschel saying, hey, you're actually top 50. You've made it to next week. And then him needing to be top 5 to make it into this final week, top 30. And he goes out and wins.
Yeah, it's cool, man.
So now it's like these stories are like... And
I like Keegan Bradley, too. You see him on the Bob Does Sports stuff when he's messing around with these guys. He's a cool dude.
Us being from the Northeast, it's good to see a guy that's not from like Texas or Florida actually be involved.
One of the guys we work with, Minaya, Chris Minaya, he's one of his good friends is like best friends with Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley brought him to the Ryder Cup. And
he's such a cool guy.
Yeah, it's cool.
And watching him and Adam Scott duel it out for who were 2 names going into the week, you're like, there's no way these guys are dueling it out on Sunday, right? Like, is it 2015? Like, what year is it? But to see Keegan Bradley now jump into 6 now. I know you haven't looked into too much of it, but Scotty Scheffler, Xander still 1 and 2. Scotty's going to start at 10 under. Xander.
Scotty's
8 under.
Win.
You think Scotty's going to win going this week?
Of course,
man, that's not why. I thought you were going to go against the grain.
Nah, I mean, it's so hard. Like you want to go against the grain.
The guy's plus 110 to win.
Yeah, you don't want to be boring. You don't want to be boring, but like at some point, like when a guy just goes out and does what he's done for just such a consistently long period of time,
it's
I'm
tough
not betting
not
against
to
Scotty
pick
Scheffler.
Like even Xander, who's played so consistent. It's like he starts 2 strokes back of Scotty, but it's like.
If he went into Sunday with a 4-stroke lead, I'd be like, I might bet on Scotty today. Like I actually hope that Scotty falls deep enough down where you can bet on him to win.
It scared me a little because round 1 this past week, he does this thing with his back foot where it slides all over the place. He hit an approach shot. His leg swings out a little further than normal, and the first thing he does is grab his back. And then he finishes in 30th. Oh. And then it's like, Ah, man, that built-in excuse, remember? What we talked about last week, where what if I get hurt here and then
Sounds like me today. Grab my back after every shot. My wife made me fall down the stairs.
Oh, that's so good. Dylan does the kind of back foot lip out thing that Scotty does. He drives it
Similar
much
player.
Yeah,
Similar
he
player.
drives it much further than Scotty.
Oh, man.
All right. I mean, that's going to do it for this week. I know we talked for a little while, but it was still all good topics. Thanks for all the support. Again, follow us, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Double or Nothing Podcast. We'll be coming at you with another episode next week. Thank you.
Yeah, stay tuned.